Favorite tight end prospects in the 2026 NFL draft, and someone that I feel like the Broncos absolutely should target as early as pick number 64 in the second round is Stanford tight end Sam Roush. Let's talk about him and why I feel like, man, he's just a perfect fit for what it is that we need. And he might be one of the safest NFL prospects in this entire draft if you're looking for someone with a really high floor. So, guys, if you love NFL draft content, Denver Broncos news, consider subscribing to the channel, man. I appreciate it. Share it with a friend that also likes the same. And let's build this thing out. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think about Stanford tight end Sam Roush. So this is a really fun player, man. Someone that caught my eye early on, right? And I know the tight end position is not only a really difficult position to evaluate in terms of how it translates over to the NFL. And the reason for that is because several things. First of all, many tight ends in college are not asked to do anything close to the same things that they're going to be asked to do in the NFL or that NFL teams want. Um, Mostly it's guys that are just out athleting guys in in college. And that doesn't always work in the NFL because you need to be able to have some blocking ability to be able to not have a tell when you're on the field. And also, what does out athleting mean in college versus the NFL, right? Where everybody is a very elite athlete. So guys like Sam Roush, in my opinion, the way that they played in college, their games translate much better to the NFL. Now, it doesn't mean that they're going to be this all-pro level tight end, right? Like that you're thinking of a Brock Bowers-esque Trey McBride type, but they are going to be guys that can play in this league for 10 to 15 years, will always seem to have a role and a job, and coaches are going to love him. And that is exactly Sam Roush in a nutshell. So let's break him down as a whole, right? First of all, unbelievable prototypical size for an NFL tight end. 6'6", 267 pounds. I get it. He's got really short arms at 30 and 5/8 of an inch. Could be an issue. I don't necessarily think it will be that much. As a tight end, I don't worry about it as much as if he was a full-time tackle, for example. But very, very tall, very heavy. That 267 pounds is impressive. And what even really helped his stock the most, probably the most of anybody at the entire combine, was his athletic testing numbers, where he came in, ran a 4.7, had a 1.61 split. Just to give you guys an idea, that's a Troy Franklin 10-yard split. 38.5-inch vert. So he showed that he has the speed, and he tested extremely well in the agility and the explosive testing numbers as well. So that is impressive, especially for a man of that size. But here's the thing. Before we get into the strengths and the weaknesses with Sam Roush, one thing that I always look at is, okay, is he a really good blocker? That's going to be one thing. You're not really going to find a lot of tight ends that in college are just dominant blockers, like the Jackson Hawes that you saw last year. But he ended up being super limited as a receiver, but he's going to have a very long career. He had a really good rookie year, even though he's a seventh-round pick. Somebody like Sam Roush, what you look for and what really stuck out to me personally is that you want to see, does he like to block? Where's the effort at? Is blocking something that he takes a lot of pride in? And boy, does he ever. Because this man was asked to block a whole lot. It wasn't always that pretty, but most of the times it was really good. But you could tell he takes a whole lot of pride in it. And even though Stanford's offense was just an eyesore to watch, they ran a very pro-style type of system where they really wanted to run the football, dominate the line of scrimmage. He was used as really an extra offensive lineman very, very often. And you can tell that he understands a lot of the concepts of not just blocking, but the second level, getting to the linebacker, blocking there. There's a lot of comfort. The learning curve in that aspect of his game, which is one of the most difficult learning curves for tight ends coming from college to the NFL, is not going to be nearly as hard of a learning curve for him. Right. And Frank Reich was the interim coach last year. And whatever your thoughts are of him as a college coach or an NFL coach, the guy's got a ton of NFL coaching experience. And that's going to do somebody like Sam Roush really, really well. But he likes to block. He's got a nastiness to him. He takes a lot of pride in it. And that's something that you got to love. So that really stood out to me. And I think that that's automatically going to make him have a super high floor in the NFL. Another thing, and so that's also what really makes him a very prototypical NFL prospect. Now, another thing is he's got a lot of upside as an athlete. You don't, unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to see it a lot, right? He had 40 catches for 334 yards and 2 touchdowns in 2024. And then last year, he had 49 catches, 545 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So he didn't get a whole lot of opportunities to be really a receiving threat. But when he did, it was on those important downs, the third downs, and in the red zone, and to kind of keep drives going. But you love the fact that he's got a ton of collegiate and pro athletes in his family. His uncle is Merlin Olsen, who's, I believe, a Hall of Famer in the NFL, longtime defensive lineman. His dad played in the NFL and in college. His mom was like an all-pro volleyball player. So those athletic traits are not only important because you understand that you're going to get a plus athlete, but somebody that's going to come in with the right mentality and understand what it takes to be able to thrive in the NFL. So I think that that's always a really big plus for somebody like him. And it's weird with Sam Roush because it doesn't always look very pretty. Sometimes he looks a little bit off balance. He runs a little awkwardly, and he kind of did that at the combine as well. But for some reason, he's still always finding ways to be able to gain separation. And I certainly think it's enough, plenty enough to be able to thrive in the NFL. And you think about it for the Denver Broncos, right? What do the Broncos absolutely need from their tight ends? They're non-negotiables. You need to be able to block and block well enough, at least, to not give so much of a tell, right? Like, everyone was always asking, why is Evan Ingram blocking so much for the Broncos last year? I get it, but it is what it is because you do not want to be able to have Evan Ingram on the field and feel like that this is going to be a passing game. And the thing about Sam Roush and why he's someone that I believe really is exactly what the Broncos are looking for in a tight end is because he's got that natural ability right off the bat. You're not going to have to sit there and develop him as much as you would other guys. I think he's going to be able to really see the field early on in his career because he's got that understanding. Again, he's been coached by a long-time NFL coordinator and head coach in Frank Reich, and it's going to be able to do it well enough. You're never asking guys to just be absolutely dominant blockers, but it's got to be good enough, and he can certainly do all of the chipping and the holding up on the edge rushers and getting to that second level and being able to block tight ends when needed, be able to lead block. He's got a lot of those traits, and I think he fits perfectly well in this tight end room that we're looking for, right? Because you think about it, everybody gets caught up with the Broncos when it comes to, we want the Eli Stowers, the big-time athletes, the guy that can really raise the ceiling of this room, and that would be great, and I would love that, but it's just not really realistic when it comes to the types of tight ends that Sean Payton has really coached in his entire NFL career. And it's really a common thing in the NFL in its entirety, right? You might have guys that can kind of pop and splash a little bit. And then once defenses adjust to them, they're not going to be really as effective. You look at Arondé Gatson as an example last year with the Chargers, right? Who kind of pop, but you need to be able to have that inline blocking ability so that you can really be able to be a more complete tight end. That's exactly what Sam Roush does. I believe that he's going to be a tight end that goes much earlier than people think. A lot of, early draft scouts are saying 4th, 5th rounder, maybe in the 3rd. I think this guy certainly can go in the 2nd round. And the Broncos now, the fact that we gave away the 1st and the 3rd round pick for Jalen Waddle, they have the 64th pick. It's going to be a very important pick for the Broncos. I think Sam Roush will be available there, and I can see him being someone that they love. I think they're going to love the experience that he brings. They've always liked to draft guys that played a lot of college football. Sam Roush has certainly played a whole lot of college football. 4 years, really a full-time player for 3 seasons. They like to have guys that have those, high character by all things that you're hearing. He was one of the team leaders. He's a high character kid. The fact that he has a lot of athletic family traits, not just in the NFL, but high level, is a really big positive, right? Because that's going to usually go into your football character as a whole. And that's something that I feel like the Broncos are going to love. I think that they're really going to, I just look at him as someone that Sean Payton and George Payton are absolutely fall in love with. And they have no problem taking guys a little bit earlier than the consensus, right? I think if he went pick 64, some people might think that that's early. They thought the same thing with Pat Bryant. They don't really care. They just want to have guys that fit. And that pick is so important because you don't have a third rounder. You're not picking until the fourth where you have a couple picks. So you have a big gap. And he's the first pick that you have. So you need to make sure that you nail that. And I think that they're really going to be intrigued by the concept of going after a player that has a really high floor in the NFL. Might not have the highest ceiling, but he's going to have a high floor. So I think he's a really good fit there. Let's go back to um, some additional talking points here. I think he's got some really good run after the catch ability. He really does. Again, he's not going to be this burner, but he's a very physical runner with the ball in his hands. He's not going to go down easily. He likes to finish with a lot of punishment. So those are things that I really, really typically like. And he definitely thrives in the middle of the field. That's what you want to see. He's someone in the, 7 to 12, 15-yard line across the middle of the field. That's where he thrives. He's got a really good feel for finding the soft spots in zone. And that's mainly what you're going to be facing a lot of the times in the NFL. So he can burn a lot of NFL linebackers when given the opportunity. And obviously he can dominate and out physical a lot of the safeties as well. I mean, 6'6", 267. He is a monster of a man. What are some areas that he can work on? He definitely has some drop issues. And I think a lot of the weaknesses that you're going to see are a symptom of just him not being asked to be a receiver very often, right? These are things that he can get a lot more refined with. But he did have some drop issues, but he also has some really great catches and showed a lot of the reliable hands as well. So sometimes it's the concentration focus drops, and it could just be that he's been blocking for 3 quarters and all of a sudden he's asked to catch. But those are things that you can certainly clean up from him. He will need refinement as a receiver. And what I mean by that is as a pure route runner. He's a little bit stiffer looking, and he's not always going to be able to sell route running. Now, it's not that big of a deal, in my opinion, because he's not going to be asked to be this really, really good route runner. But it's small little nuances that he can get better with in terms of selling the route, flipping the hips a little bit quicker. That can help him really maximize the opportunities that he gets as a pass catcher in the NFL. So again, things that you can certainly work on and correct, but they're not nearly as big of things that you need guys to develop in when it comes to blocking and understanding the game and understanding concepts and things like that. Ball tracking, certainly something that, again, I think that's just a lack of experience catching the football, but doesn't always have the best ball tracking ability when the ball is in the air in terms of body positioning and all that. Not necessarily the biggest deal. And then many teams will view this as a weakness, which is why he's not going to be a first-round pick, right? It's because he is going to have a limited ceiling. I don't foresee Sam Roush being this dominant 1,200 yards a year, all-pro caliber receiving tight end, but I see him being someone that is going to be very solid, very reliable, and have a very long NFL career and can kind of play in a multitude of different roles, but really going to be that traditional wide tight end where you're lined up at the end of the line of scrimmage and can go out there and dominate. NFL teams love that. NFL coaches love it. One of the comps that kind of came to mind, I was trying to think of like Denver Broncos history as well, is Owen Daniels, right? Owen Daniels was never this flashy tight end, this guy that was absolutely dominant, but he was just so damn good. And Bronco fans would love to have an Owen Daniels type of tight end on their team now, considering how bad and how unproductive the tight end room has been. So Sam Roush is probably one of my favorite picks for the Broncos at number 64. He might be the number one guy that I would want the Broncos to target. I feel confident that he could be there. And if we took him at 64, some people might think it's early. I do not care. I love me some Sam Roush. Big fan of his. And he's someone that I think, man, he's going to have a really long career. So let me know, guys, what you think about Sam Roush as a potential future Bronco. I will have a video drop about NFL draft prospects that I think could be potential future Broncos and really good fits every single day leading up into the draft. So let me know what you guys think about Sam Roush and if there's anybody else that you would like for the Broncos to consider at pick number 64. Appreciate you guys tuning in, man. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy your Friday. We'll talk to you on the flip side.